What's something people do or say that makes you roll your eyes? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. People without spatial awareness. Don't walk in the dead center of the sidewalk, especially if you're slow. Don't start entering the train before others have gotten off. Don't stop in the crosswalk to check your phone. Don't stop to chat with a friend in the grocery store aisle, completely blocking others from passing. Ugh. Story 2. Anytime someone word vomits about what they do in a situation without ever actually having been in a situation. Oh, that dude got mugged at knife point? I would have just grabbed the knife from him and beat the out of him. Yeah, sure, little bro. Story 3. When someone starts asking about my health problems, then they start the have you tried Trinikimasu. I didn't ask for your non-expert advice. It's always a suggestion of something I've tried 10 years ago that didn't work, or it's some pseudo-science BS essential oil crap. Story 4. Do your own research. I have 2 master's degrees, one of which is in research. What people actually mean when they say do your own research is watch the same news as me and look at the same new outlets that I use. And what really grinds my gears is that they listen to non-reputable sources. I distinctly remember during COVID how this lady vehemently demanded I read this anti-vax article by Robert De Niro, and I'm thinking to myself, WTF, does he know about immunology? Why are you trusting public figures over the people that actually spent years of their lives actually doing the research? Story 5. Government should be run like a business. The goal of a business is to maximize revenue while minimizing the amount of goods or services you provide. How anyone thinks that's a good way to run government is beyond me. Story 6. Teamwork makes the dream work almost always come out of the mouth of someone who doesn't do. They say it the one time they do anything to help and think they should be worshipped for doing so. Mi amor out of the mouth of the whitest person who says it to be so romantic. You're doing great, mama. Good job, mama. Shoot up, kiddos. Tiny humans. Manamun, and go. Like, I need restaurants in the area, and go. No. Story 7. They don't see color regarding people's different race, ethnicity. I understand wanting to treat everyone with dignity and respect, but don't agree with dismissing something that's a part of a person's life experience and identity. It kind of strikes me as a little racist, refusing to acknowledge and embrace people's differences. Story 8. When Christians act like their religion is under attack because other non-religious people are allowed to do things they aren't. Divorce, same marriage, pronouns, trans, abortion, etc. Sorry, your religion doesn't allow those things, but that's your religion, not mine. Your religion only prevents you from doing things, not me. Your religion isn't under attack because non-religious folks aren't following your religious rules. Story 9. My wife's friend is pretty hippie, and one day we were setting up for a wedding, and she's like, make sure the wind doesn't take any of the napkins or plates. We don't want to the ones responsible for any microlitter. If I could have rolled my eyes any harder, I'd have been looking at my brain. Story 10. People who say they didn't have so many cases of insert medical condition or neurodivergency here when I was a kid. Like, yeah, man, they did actually. But a lot of them either died young or in the case of neurodivergency were put in an institution. That kids can survive those medical conditions now and kids with neurodivergency can be mainstreamed into public schools is a good thing. It's something that was fought for. It's a chance at a good life. The same chance that everyone deserves, and acting like this is somehow new is both ignorant and dangerous in a time when people with medical neurodiagnoses are being treated like political talking points. Story 11. When people brag about being charitable or doing a good deed and also follow it up with an extremely poor and completely lacking of self-awareness attempt at humility, like, I did X to Y, Z, but it was no big deal. BC, I'm just built like that. If you were built like that, you would just SW about it. Story 12. People who drop huge hints in conversation, testing to see if you will ask them about it, or basically any insecure bid for attention. Just tell me if you want to tell me, or go and work on your self-esteem somewhere else, with a paid professional for Pete's sake, for all our sakes. Story 13. People being upset by every form of human behavior that is not the perfect example of a human being, that goes around smiling and nodding and approving of everyone, expecting positivity and perfection in every interaction and behavior. Story 14. Constantly being in locations where almost every single person there is 100% detached, looking down at their phones. At the airport, on the metro, places like that. Of course, I'm not immune from looking at my phone, but the lengths people go to do this continuously is irritating. Story 15. I just call it how I see it. Nah, dog, you're just an ass that can't read the room. Also, people that walk slowing down aisle of a store because they're texting or on speakerphone while they're shopping, we can hear you. Story 16. Those people who walk around like they're indestructible. Knew a guy like this once, and he once said, "Oh, I'm not afraid of being in a car with some random guy, because if he threatened me, I'd just choke him out." Sure you would, dude. And I bet if some random person on the street tried to stab you, you'd pull some Jackie Chan type moves out of your ass and beat them up. Story 17. People criticizing SpaceX because they don't like Elon Musk. I totally get why people hate Elon, and I do too now, but I can still respect his accomplishments. SpaceX is a fantastic aerospace company, and they're doing great things to advance our understanding of the universe. And Starlink is doing a great job at providing internet service to rural and impoverished areas of the world. Story 18. People who cut or interrupt while out in public saying they just want to ask a question. That question always involves more than a second reply, IDK if this makes sense. It usually means the person they are asking the question has to now cater to them. Story 19. Most slang terms. Let him, her cook. That song slaps. Giving someone their flowers, something being fire, something being cringe, not cringeworthy. Overuse of the word literally. People enjoying a particular song, movie, game, or whatever, and it's the something of all time, whether it's the best or most underappreciated, etc. All time isn't just the last 10 or 20 years. Story 20. People who have to know everything or understand everything you say. Like if I'm telling you about something I am excited about learning and your response is, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I didn't know that, but from what I do know, that makes total sense to me." Or when you say something you want out of life and they say, "Oh no, you want this instead." And I keep saying, "No, I legit want what I said I wanted." Or people who tell you the same stories over and over again for years, despite the fact you've definitely heard it before, and then get mad when you don't fully engage, and act like they are revealing something really insane, and just keep escalating the facts until you say something. People who talk mad about literally everyone, and then get wildly upset when anyone talks about them, and goes around saying no one should ever talk about them, and they're people who talk about other people, and it's incredibly cruel and not fully accurate, and just keeps going and going, despite no one engaging or agreeing, or even bringing it up. People who tell you their friends didn't like you, but they stood up for you and made it better. People who ask your friends that they met through you, how they feel about you, and then report back to you what they said only if it was negative. People who do all the above and think they are a genuine, good person. Story 21, repeating the word like too frequently. Example, and he was like, "Sure, dude." And the other dude was like, "Yeah." And I am like, "What? Pig." It's not cute. It doesn't make anyone believe you're a boss or a king, queen, or even relevant. It only hints that you're lacking a few points of IQ. Story 22. Kids these days with the phones and the video games and the jazz music, and they don't respect their elders. Why, back in my day, you sound like every old person throughout history. It's amazing how quickly people forget what being young was like. Story 23. Well, aside from a few of the comments here that I agree with, actually taco spice, taco soup, and taco salad. Taco is a category like sandwich or soup. It is like saying sandwich soup. There is not one taco. There is an enormous variety of tacos in Mexico, so I don't understand any of those three things. Story 24. When people are good looking and they post a photo on Reddit asking, "What can I do to look more attractive?" Or, "What should I change with my makeup to look better?" You know you look good. Just stop it. No one wants to see you. Story 25. When people can't let anything happen peacefully, that isn't for them. Baby showers, birthdays, weddings, funerals, holidays. They always find a way to cause a scene and make the focus shift to them. Annoying. Story 26. When people tell me they've had an enlightening or spiritually awakening experience in places like India and Thailand. What that usually means is they've finally seen real poverty, and their level of wealth makes them a little uncomfortable now. They talk about how these people live simple lives with nothing but are still happy and have a willingness to learn like you would have any other choice in that situation. It's gross and paternalistic and is illustrative of the ignorance about how the rest of the world lives in wealthy Western countries. Story 27. Literally everything I've seen listed here so far, but here's one I haven't seen yet that drives me up the wall. People who so blatantly in conversation talk about the way they did something in an attempt to get your validation to feed their ego. I have a friend, let's call her Brittany, who always needs to inflate a situation and the way she handled it, just so when she tells me about it later, she can go, "See, I'm smart. I handled it in such a smart way." That's great, Brittany. No, I will not give you the egomaniacal validation you seek. Oh, but it doesn't end there. She's also the type of person who will ask about a situation you're going through, purely so she can tell you to handle it in the exact same way you are already handling it. And what happens when it turns out okay because you knew full well how you should proceed with the circumstances? Here comes Brittany saying, "See, I told you. I told you that it would work if you did it that way." And she'll keep going to the point where she will actually start saying, "Tell me I'm right. Say, Brittany, you were right. Come on, say it. How about you go and yourself, Brittany?" Story 28. In the service industry, I have had numerous coworkers actually complain about walking away with only $170 in tips for a 6-hour shift. I've heard multiple times, "I barely made $200. They complain about getting small sections, but when they get bigger sections, they complain about getting sat too fast and often. In short, complainers, we all can complain about something. Story 29. Anytime I try to mention that X person group did a bad thing, instead of defending that person group, they go, "Well, Y person group also did different bad thing." And oftentimes the bad thing they're referring to isn't even comparable. I swear to God, whataboutism is so popular these days. Also, they act like I'm not also against person group Y, but we're talking about person group X. So let's stay on track here. Story 30, man. I'm getting annoyed with people bragging about how many degrees they got at this point. Like, wow, good for you, I guess. I feel like everyone just brags these days, and I honestly hate it. It's all just gloating. Not to mention they do this BC. They actually want to look and sound like they're better than everyone else. Story 31. After someone died from that person's own doing, people who knew them posting that, "If anyone needs to talk, please reach out to me. I am here for you." When they have shown that they are not safe or empathetic people in their normal days. Makes me roll my eyes like they're going to magically grow an empathy that they never show or feel. Story 32. When they make everything about themselves and fish for compliments. You tell them an accomplishment, they'll go, "I wish I was smart, pretty, good enough for that." You give them a compliment, they deny it. You make it seem everything is so easy for you to make your accomplishments seem smaller. Really puts me off. Story 33. My grown-ass coworker who says, "I need to take a poopy every day. I'm about to slap a hoe." Also, people who overtalk others when they're talking and monopolize the conversation. Let others have the space to converse. Story 34. One of my closest friends always one-ups people. I don't mind it if I'm telling a story and you share a similar experience. But if you say, "Oh man, I'm tired," he'll aggressively say, "You're tired? You? Try being married and having 3 kids waking you up constantly." Completely obnoxious to dismiss how someone is feeling mentally or physically because you have it worse. He did eventually chill out a bit years later. Story 35. Calling anyone selfish a narcissist. Someone who is an asshole is a sociopath. Someone who is organized is OCD. A moody person is bipolar. It comes off so unintelligent and misinformed. Story 36. Asking someone 80 million times if something is wrong or bothers them and they say no each time. Then on a random fucking Tuesday, they unload all these issues they supposedly always felt. Add insult to injury, they bring it up after you clearly articulate something bothered you and try to mitigate any further issue. I roll my eyes deep and want to leave. Story 37. When someone asks how I'm doing and I reflexively say, "I'm good," and I ask them how they are, and they pointedly say they're doing well. Like, I know the grammar, bitch. It's a colloquialism I can't shake for some reason, and does it really matter? Just process my D post. Enos, check me into my room. Give me my change. She call my name when the doctor can see me. Story 38. I just watched a group walk by doing a St. Patty's bar crawl. I live near a bunch of bars. They were all dressed in ridiculous over-the-top green outfits. And a couple had the giant punch-me-in-the-face green hats. My eyes be rolling. Story 39. As an engineer, our joke in the trades, non-engineers anyways, is, how can you tell someone is an engineer? Talk to them for more than 10 seconds and they'll tell you. And this doesn't necessarily apply when engineering is required, but for stuff like a roof leak or broken garage door spring, it's annoying AF. I noticed my roof was leaking, and as an engineer, I knew that wasn't good. Bro, so does every non-engineer. Your engineering background is not relevant to the situation, so feel free to not bring it up every chance you get. Story 40. People who just sniff super loudly instead of blowing their nose. Half the time they then cough, and I can hear that all of that snot just shot into their mouth and throat. Just blow your nose. Stop making those disgusting sounds. It's not even effective. They suck the snot up and then have to do it again in 2 minutes. It's so disgusting, and it's just going to keep you sick longer. That snot is created because there's a bunch of bacteria in your body, so blow it out you. They're literally sucking back in all of the gunk their body is trying. It's hardest to get rid of. Story 41, I travel alone and have for almost 30 years. To this day, I still have family members remind me of the latest unrest, weather crime in the next place I plan to travel. It has gotten so consistent that I enjoy waiting until the day I leave to inform anyone where I am going. It gives them zero time to look up any information and scare themselves about my travels. It works like a charm. Story 42, we have an immigration problem in the U.S. We do, but not the person saying that thinks we do. We need an easier path for asylum seekers and more staff to help them, better facilities, and I would really like a report of the children separated from their parents and where they are now. Story 43, use drive-thrus. Bag groceries with no logical order and 1 million bags. Cause traffic by tailing the car in front of them. Put meat and cheese in salads. Sell their labor for significantly less than it's worth in mass. Blame the patients for the god-awful work of plastic surgeons. Claim liberalism while also actively never genuinely befriending folk from at-risk communities. Ignore PPL suffering with eating disorders and alcoholism, and continue publicly celebrating eating less and drinking more. Don't tip food service workers when there's likely much cheaper access to food if you're broke. Turn the TV on for toddlers. Normalize violence and socially constructed as violence in all media. Scream when scared, enjoy porn, complain when standing in line. Playing audio on their phone without headphones, smoking right before getting into a car, using one hand when you could use two and be done twice as quickly. Deem arguments, shoot opinions invalid if they don't understand them, which is clearly not evidence of falsity but of a lack of cognition. Blame kids. I could go on, but I won't. Story 44. When I hear someone talking negatively about someone else's life or body, in general negative comments about someone else, I feel like we spend so much energy judging people and spreading negativity, rather than focusing on our energy girls who talk about other girls based on jealousy, envy, and even just because a man. Ugh, disgust is me deeply in my soul. Story 45, sadly passed away. Sounds so dumb. You do not need any adjective there. Sadly they passed away sounds fine, but sadly passed away is just stupid. So stinking cute. Also just stupid. How does stinkin' describe cute? It doesn't. Just some pearl clutcher who replaced a better adjective with one that, again, just sounds dumb. Story 46. I once made a comment on Snapchat about my opinion, and I said, it's not necessary a red flag if someone is still talking their ex. It proves that they can maintain a healthy relationship if things don't work out. People started spamming my comments, calling me a kid. It made me second-guess myself. It didn't come to my mind that it's a red flag if their ex was toxic. I'm fine now, and I know that the internet is full of who don't listen to other side of the story. Sorry if I use bad grammar. Story 47. When people who don't know me but think they do speak for me, I freaking hate that. People who start discussions just to provoke me. People who pretend they are good at everything. And when you talk about your hobby, it's suddenly also a thing they are super good at. So people who always want to be the best and don't want other people to win. People who are emotionally closed off and judge sensitive people. People without empathy who judge people who feel bad for others. People who judge others for liking popular things. People who don't know me, who tell me who I am. Story 48. When people say being in the adult industry is derogatory while they're sending pics of themselves for free to randoms or working full-time to fill some rich bloke's pockets and then struggling to pay bills and save up for holidays. I work full-time myself as a caregiver. I don't get paid well, so I have a side job. I'm going on 3 holidays this year, and I'm financially stable. Jealousy really winds me up. Story 49. I saw this man I knew as a child as an adult. Let's say he was a teacher, sort of below this, but he worked for the schools when I was younger. I said hello, and we briefly spoke. He asked me something, and I replied in the affirmative, and he cut me off with a, "You mean, yes, sir." He did this when I was a child too, but I wasn't a child at this point. This dude was always trying to elicit a sir out of me, and his attempt to correct me as adult like that immediately made my eyes roll. If he thinks I'm being rude or disrespectful by not saying sir, then he needs to consider how rude and disrespectful he's being by cutting me off and trying to correct an adult like they're a child. Story 50. Passive aggressiveness. If I decide not to do something for my own reasons, someone will say, "You don't care," as a last-second jab. Or if I choose something another person doesn't like, they will say, "You like that, huh?" instead of just saying they'd prefer the other option. Story 51, when they use abbreviations in real life. TBH, I was just, and that's why I died in the game. Also, when they intentionally say cringy to get a rile out of you. Panda Express is traditional Chinese food, and then laugh their ass off because it's so hilarious after having said it for the 6th time today. Story 52. People who claim to be free speech as baladists, but don't speak out against political arrests. Instead, they focus on petty stuff like university students being too woke, false consciousness, hyper-focusing on some minor issue as if it's a huge threat. People who say their personality changes when they speak another language, or super reductive stereotypes that can be disproven in a second. The French are romantic, or English people are classy. Do you really think every French person is romantic? You have all kinds of people in every society, just like in yours. It's so stupid. Story 53. People who make everything about politics. You could literally be like, "Man, this popcorn's pretty good." And some mofo would be like, "Well, yay, no thanks to that Biden, Trump, Musk, Kamala, Obama, whoever." I've had people turn small talk about the weather immediately into politics like, "Dude, just shut up. These people don't even know or care that you exist." Story 54, it's when the person is obviously putting on a mask of positivity. Maybe it's the fact I've lived an especially difficult life, surrounded by people who are anything but positive. But fake, because toxic positivity has a unique combination effect where I feel both repulsed and angry. My blood boils and I want to throw up. Story 55, the term fur baby to describe a pet. There is something very off-putting to me about this. I have to control myself so I don't physically cringe at it. It's fairly commonly used, so this is more of a me problem. I have 2 dogs who are admittedly fairly spoiled, but they are dogs, not infant humans. I'm not sure why it bugs me so much, but it does. Story 56. People who constantly talk about empathy or boundaries usually struggle with both in themselves and are doing that because they're preaching to remind themselves of these novel concepts. It's obvious by someone's actions that they have either PPL that are good with this, don't have to talk about it all the time. Story 57, whenever people brag about being confident, powerful, "I'm not a doormat," etc., while doing something rude. Example, a person was saying this on the treadmill the other day while talking loud on speaker and leaving all their trash, wipes, paper towel, in the cup holders. Story 58. Whenever people say, "This is going to be revolutionary, game-changing," to literally any advancement, it screams, "I know nothing about what I'm talking about, but want to give to illusion I am." It pisses me off, especially when people do it in something I know about. Story 59. I work customer service. So I totally get sometimes being fake with a customer, but they're just certain people I've worked with that are so fake in general. Just as a person, that makes me mentally roll my eyes. Another thing people do that has always pissed me off, since as long as I can remember, is if I'm in the kitchen making something, even if it's something simple, like a bowl of fruit, and someone comes over to stare at what I'm doing, it rubs me the wrong way. I don't mean you glanced at me as you walked by. I mean like they literally have to come crane their neck to observe. Story 60. Lately, it bothers me how often people are misusing the word personally. The context in which a lot of people are using the word is unnecessary and or redundant. If you're sharing something about yourself, you usually don't have to specify with the addition of the word personally. Of course, there are certain contexts where using the word personally is appropriate. Story 61. Talking about poorly written smut when other people are also trying to read. I have to constantly hear in my class about Fourth Wing and "it ends with us, please, don't." All this while I'm trying to read Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, Dostoevsky. Not to hate on other literature, but having loud book club meetings about freaking smut in a class break or before class at uni when other people are also trying to read makes my eyes low-key turn all the way back into my cranium. Story 62. When you get to be my age, it's always something, and it happens at every stage of life. When I was 20, it was 40-year-olds. Now that I'm 40, it's 60-year-olds. Yesterday was having trouble reading something which was faded, and the customer starts the whole "wait till you get to my age" thing. I said, "Well, I have macular degeneration, so when I get to your age, I'll be blind." That shut her up. I don't actually have macular degeneration, but I do wear a 9 in contact lenses that still doesn't make me 20/20, so I'm very familiar with bad vision. Not that it matters. I still don't want to hear what I'll experience when I get to your age, because experiences aren't even universal anyway, and now it just sounds like you're bragging about what you have to go through. Stafu. Story 63. People who preach about love and acceptance, usually Democrats, and then go and bash every Republican they can. Also people who will get a fetus sucked out of them because my body, my choice, but don't understand why people didn't want to be injected with a vaccine that had no long-term studies. Story 64. When people claim to be against people pushing their religion on others, but then turn around and push their atheism on people, congratulations, you're doing the same thing. Let people believe what they want to believe, and at least don't be an asshole about it. If someone's grieving and is trying to hold out hope that they'll see their loved one in the afterlife, maybe it isn't the best time to say something like, "There is no heaven. Stop believing in fairy tales." If you're against people saying they're in a better place, then don't use "there's nothing after death" as a gotcha, because you just be doing the same thing. Story 65. You know when you're in a bad situation and try to change things for the better, but the people around you, family and friends, give you horrible advice and suggest that you stay in that situation? Example, you want to quit your job after years of abuse, and your mom replies with, "But you've made so many friends at your workplace, don't lose what you've accomplished." Kind of like you've come so far, so you might as well stay where you are. I don't like that. If I want to change and I can make that change happen, why should I keep myself in a miserable situation just because it will be a new, unfamiliar experience? I hate people telling me to settle because they're projecting their own fear of the unknown. This is coming from someone with severe anxiety who has spent her entire life in a safety bubble because of her parents. I now crave independence and new experiences despite my anxiety. Story 66. You know when you're in a bad situation and try to change things for the better, but the people around you, family and friends, give you horrible advice and suggest that you stay in that situation? Example, you want to quit your job after years of abuse, and your mom replies with, "But you've made so many friends at your workplace, don't lose what you've accomplished." Kind of like you've come so far, so you might as well stay where you are. I don't like that. If I want to change and I can make that change happen, why should I keep myself in a miserable situation just because it will be a new, unfamiliar experience? I hate people telling me to settle because they're projecting their own fear of the unknown. This is coming from someone with severe anxiety who has spent her entire life in a safety bubble because of her parents. I now crave independence and new experiences despite my anxiety. Story 67. But they're rich, or they making money though, or they got more money than you. There are so many other facets of life than just finances. Lowell, of course, finances are of great importance. So go make your money, but don't let the money make you. Story 68, waiting for their turn to speak instead of listening. My mother is a champion at this event. You tell her a piece of news or even just general chat, and it's literally, "Oh, that's nice. Well, I'm going out to buy new bedroom furniture next month." Story 69. There's this one person I used to be so tight-knit with who one day started speaking as though her mind got a professional PR team. She started doing it to me, and it was so insincere and fake. I've noticed people in my professional life do this too. Just be yourself at all times. Story 70. I work in a casino. Something you see pretty often, particularly on blackjack tables, is guy comes in with a bunch of money. Guy bets recklessly. Guy loses a bunch of money. Guy either wins back a good share of that money or buys in for more money, so he ends up with a good stack of chips in front of him. A bunch of young guys gather around guy with money because they see he has a good stack of chips in front of him and start hyping him up like crazy, telling each other that he's got it figured out. Young guys listen to anything guy with money says and often end up losing their own money because of it. Guy with money loses all his money and leaves upset. Young guys sit around talking about how cool guy with money was, how smart guy with money was, and how real guy with money was. Story 71, my truth. Stock standard SM comments on weddings, pregnancy, babies, tragedies. OMG, I can see the love through these pictures. OMG, you are glowing. What a beautiful baby. My heart goes out to those victims. I can't imagine what they're going through. Thoughts and prayers. Truth talkers. Speaking the truth isn't just yelling dumb, you believe. Story 72, it is what it is. I hate this conversation, short-circuiting phrase with a white phosphorus level of intensity for what it does to just about any slightly contentious subject under discussion. Also, stop defending Crocs. Your comfort looks hideous. Admit it and move on. Story 73. When people claim they are the victim in their circumstances when they very clearly did it to themselves. Like, I don't know why everyone hates me when they've literally since day one talked crap about everyone and attempted to micromanage their coworkers while not reflecting on their own crappy work ethic. Or the, Well, I just bought 4 new pairs of $100 shoes a pop that I didn't need, and now I can't pay my rent, my electric got shut off, and I can't make my car payment, so I might get fired since I need the car to go to work, sorts of people. Story 74. When someone with no education beyond a bachelor's degree tells me to do my research, I instantly lose all respect. Another big one is when a CrossFit person starts giving me fitness and gym advice. Yeah, your knuckles are dragging on the ground and you can't lift your arm above your shoulder, but please tell me how the leg press machine is worse than not lifting at all. And tell me more about how you can do 60 pull-ups, LOL. Also, anyone who says to me about motorcycle riding, I'm not worried about me, I am worried about the other guy. Okay, but I am worried about you because like 95% of motorcycle-involved accidents could be avoided with proper training, and like 75% of them are straight out caused by the motorcyclist's error. Also, every post on Reddit by basement-dwelling gamers who claim all rich people are stupid. Story 75. When people say stuff along the lines of, you don't want to be eating all those chemicals, like you do realize that literally everything is a chemical and your argument makes no sense? Same vibe when PPL talk about GMOs. Story 76. The other day, I was ushering customers to the registers at closing time. I come across this couple, still shopping. I let them know that it is closing time, and the registers will be closing soon. They continue shopping. I let them grab an item they were looking for, and remind them it is closing time. They keep shopping. I raise my voice and sternly ask them to go to the register. Then they start yelling at me. The guy says something to the effect of, dude, you should try to make people happy. Me, I try to make people happy. That made me roll my eyes. Him continuing to shop after closing time wasn't making me happy, so his statement was BS. I am not responsible for other people's emotional states, so his statement was BS. Story 77. You share some interesting points. I hadn't thought about it that way before. I am not equating them nor telling you your experience. LGBT also are mistreated based on appearance and assumptions and have a history of mistreatment and fighting for their rights. And so many others have too. Anyone else, not white or male. Unfortunately, transgender people and their rights to exist, to be able to have been made the convenient scapegoat for the right. I have friends who are transgender, and they are terrified of losing their jobs, their ID, their ability to have insurance, being able to travel, not going to prison, their ability to get medical care, and for their physical safety every day. So no, I wouldn't compare the situations. Other than I know these very same issues have been shared. I am disgusted by the rampant, strongly seething racism in America. What century is this? I am horrified by the increasingly brazen behavior of some people's venomous hatred for others, be it racist, homophobic, transphobic, bigoted, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, xenophobic, misogynistic, fascist, predatory, malignantly violent. I'm also aware of blatant manipulations to sow division and infighting to minimize unity and its powerful impact. Story 78. Anything maggots pick up from Trump and regurgitate in YouTube comments. Still tried my luck to explain to one what DEIA is really about, but you can guess the outcome. That Jubilee episode of Sam Cedar vs. 20 MAGA is the norm. In Germany, we say, Da ist Hopfen und Malz verloren, all around lost causes. Story 79. What are the chances? There's things happening to people all day, every day. What are the chances that something that seems like a big coincidence will happen every once in a while? Pretty good, actually. It would be more notable if you went your whole life without seeing any weird coincidences. Story 80. You don't know what stress is, or you haven't experienced life yet. What could you be stressed about? Makes me want to grab them by the throat. Like ma'am, I've lost my parents by the age of 18. My ex-BF is dead, and even my best friend in the entire world. I know the people who say this clearly don't know me, but like what makes them think this is even okay to say to someone? Story 81. People who compliment me, or people who make suggestions or ideas for something, knowing it was my idea, and tell the person who I provided the idea to long ago as a way to mock me or make them feel they are better people than I am. Story 82. People who lie in a way that just insults your intelligence. I once had a guy tell me he squatted a house in bees in his prime. I asked him why he never went pro, and he said he was busy with work. Like, dude, if you squat a house in the bees, that's your life now. You're going places bigger than you can imagine. Dude really thought I'd buy that. Story 83. When my mom is talking about something, then I hear her say electromagnets, like we can be talking about microorganisms, and I'm completely interested in the conversation, and she says electromagnets. and I completely disconnect from the conversation. Story 84. In movies, when someone is being choked and they just softly grab the person who is choking them's shoulder or their neck, scratch the out of them, scratch their eyes out, use your damn hands and punch their face that is well within reach. Story 85. When you lose someone and other people say, I'm sorry, like I find it a lot more concerning if someone says, damn, that's crazy, do you want to talk about it? Like, no, but that shows you care more and aren't uncomfortable with death. Story 86. When a coworker is chronically late coming back from every single break and they always have an outrageously stupid excuse. For instance, coworker on Monday. I think I may be pregnant because I keep throwing up. That's why I was late. Got so sick. CW on Tuesday. I took a pregnancy test. I'm pregnant. That's why I was late coming in. I was on the phone with my doctor scheduling an apt. CW on Wednesday. OMG, do I have blood on me? I think I'm having a miscarriage. That's why I was late from lunch. CW on Thursday. Sorry I left early yesterday. I went to the doctor. I had a scrape done. It was a miscarriage. CW on Friday. Sorry I'm late. My stomach is upset. Think it's from the miscarriage. Yeah, I roll my eyes. All the time. No, I don't believe you. CW that appears to have the misfortune of a baby born with a caul that immediately broke a mirror after walking under a ladder to avoid a black cat crossing their path. Sorry for the arum. Story 87. In orchestral music rehearsals, people always humble brag that they have played the piece being rehearsed before. They might say, oh, I haven't played that in like 20 years. Or, have you played this before? When I did, the tempi were really different. The repertoire is huge. Unlikely you all have played that. That makes me roll my eyes. Story 88. When people act like entitled and think everyone should give them what they want. I had a teacher tell me I was an inconvenience to her having to use the bathroom, and I'm just doing my job trying to keep it sanitary. Mind you, I left one stall open and freshly cleaned and wiped for her because I was trying to stock it up while I had the chance. Sadly, we only had one bathroom, but she went full. Karen on me told me I'm an inconvenience and that my timing for cleaning the bathroom interrupt her class schedule. Like seriously, she wait till the last minute when I started wiping or spraying chemicals. I'm trying my hardest and she had a nasty tone. I gave her a piss-off stare because she knew I was the only faculty staff in the building. Part of me wanted to just leave the bathroom closed down or just stock it and not clean it because of her attitude. Still, entitled behavior bothers me. Like if you're a teacher talking down on retail and faculty staff who are trying their hardest, you need to loose your teaching privileges. Story 89. Honestly, people with extremely low pain tolerance. Like I've seen people break down into tears because of a tiny poke. I've seen fully grown adults start sobbing from a needle while getting their blood drawn. That's another thing. People who can't stand the sight of blood or other bodily fluids. I understand if they have a bad history with those, but there are so many people who have just been so sheltered that the sight of blood is too much. Even a drop can deter most of the people I have met. Ironically, it was at the blood draw place. Story 90, I work at a fragrance retailer, and people ask where the candles for men are all the time. Like, God damn, it's wax and chemicals in a glass tub. Your husband isn't going to turn into a femboy bottom because the candle isn't navy blue, made of steel, decorated with For Men in Impact 97 pat, bold and scented like Cool Blue Rush or some. Like, yes, the company I work under does still have body hair care and fragrance products specifically targeted at men, because their primary country of business is the United States, so they need something like that to have clientele other than women and queer people. But it's so ridiculous the lengths these people go to for the pointlessly fragile masculinity of insecure straight cis men. If I rolled my eyes back any further from a customer being like that, I'd be able to see the back of my skull. Story 91. When a person tells you about their passions constantly and have long discussions about them and how to pursue them, they say this is their need to talk about it all. Then when it's your turn to bring up your own, there's little to no enthusiastic conversation, or the conversation somehow turns back on the other person. To me, this is totally obnoxious, and I married a person who does this. Shame on me. Story 92. I get irrationally angry over somebody telling me something obvious. I've been downvoted into hell for snapping at people who do this, but I physically can't stop. It's my biggest pet peeve. Oh, I also get mad on here when somebody gets downvoted for asking a genuine question or learning something new. Hence my bio. I'll never understand it. Story 93. God bless you. I was praying, etc. It's okay for their beliefs to be private, but honestly, cultists should be ashamed of speaking their beliefs out loud. They look ridiculously stupid, especially when they make the assumption that their cultish beliefs are ubiquitous. Just say happy birthday. Don't say you hope God blesses me with many more. I hope God steps on a Lego.